guys should be able to hear me now. Hey, what's going on, party people? Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. It's definitely a pleasure to have you here. I go by the name of L'Esprit. I am a spiritual healer. And essentially, as a spiritual healer, what I do pretty much is that I help people to become mentally and emotionally balanced. And the idea of helping you to become emotionally and mentally balanced is for you to attain the highest state of consciousness, meaning for you to become more aware of who you are. But also, this is also you embodying physical and the non-physical aspect of yourself. Now you have a broader perspective. Now you transcend. I mean, the act of transcending, it's right in the center, but the center, they have to come together. It has to become whole. So, that's pretty much the idea behind it. But when I'm referring to helping you to become emotionally, let's just say, balanced, what I'm truly talking about here is for you to truly understand your emotions. First, you would have to understand what your emotions are, to get in touch with it, to make it yours, to master your emotions. It's important that you understand what your emotions are. And in addition to that, for you to learn how it works, you being able to for you to make it yours. But that really, I mean, that's what mastery is all about, pretty much. To make anything yours, making it part of your life. You've mastered how to brush your teeth. You're a master of that. You can do it while you're doing a whole other stuff, and you're not even paying attention to it. Now that's mastery. You made it yours, part of your routine. You made it part of your makeup. So, but for you to do that with your emotions, you would have to understand them, meaning you would have to acknowledge, have a direct experience with them. And that direct experience until you understanding how they work, how they function, understanding your emotional patterns, and if there's any blockages, how to remove them. I mean, this is what, being emotionally balanced is all about. Or at least that's what, I teach you. Then in addition to that, also help you, to become mentally balanced. Now, again, like how do you control your mental? How do you become mentally balanced? If you don't understand how your own mind works, it's impossible. Or how do you, become mentally balanced if you don't understand how you've been trained to think? Because based on how you were trained to think, then you're going to have a certain perspective. Then you're going to have a certain ideas. So they building you to think one way. So when we're talking about, and in addition to that too, just so you guys know, I also talk about the true self, the false self. Now, when I'm talking about the false self, I'll give you a perfect example. It's like a lot of us been trained to be or to act or to be who we should be or to act as, what I'm saying? It's not, I mean, you're pretty much living life on who you should be on a fucking image. I mean, I know it. I hope that you know it. It's all around you. That's your reality. In terms of, people are keeping up with the Joneses, motherfuckers are being greedy, and all of that shit derives out of that. The more you stay away from the mind, I mean, from the self. the more chaotic. Oh, I'm going to be talking about that too. The more chaotic your worlds become. And as you can see in the title here, like enlightenment is your only sanity. Until you become truly like you know who you are, that's when you become sane. And I'll get to show it to you too, even in our society. Like the criminals, the people who are doing that. You have a lot of people that are psychology. I mean, there's a lot of shit that took place in their lives. A lot of disappointments. Like they became a certain way. They think a certain way. The people are perishing due to lack of knowledge. So again, the more lack of knowledge that you pretty much have, I mean, the more insane you're gonna be. But anyway, I'm jumping ahead of myself here. But that's the conversation that we're gonna be talking about tonight, man. Even as a human being, like to be the best human being, you is a spiritual person. Why? Because of a whole lot of shit. You have compassion for other people. You love yourself, so therefore, what I'm saying. That's why you are forgiven. You forgive them. You don't judge them. You accept them. I mean, how more respectful can a monk be when a motherfucker's telling you namaste? That acknowledgement in itself, because he's saying he acknowledged, because he knows the person in him. This is what the namaste shit is telling you. I can only see you that way because I know who I am. That's why when I talk to people, like self love, has to do with you loving those divine qualities about you. Then now, once you acknowledge that in you, that's what you look for in other people. But that entails for you to have a highest state, like a highest state of consciousness or a higher state of consciousness for you to acknowledge that about you, meaning now you're becoming more aware of yourself too. But anyway, just to summarize, I mean, and that's why too, when you're dealing with your mental, then you would have to understand your culture, your society, your political shit. All of it is part of you. They they actually they shape you a certain way. For instance, we're in a country where this is a gang mentality. The whole country thinking gangs. The White House, you have different gangs, the Democrats, what I'm saying? You always have two opposite shit. Then in the hood, this shit's translated into Bloods and Crips, whatever the fuck. This is eating from the tree of good and evil. You know what I'm saying? And that is the foundation of insanity. That type of thinking in itself too. Meaning it's not a whole thinking. It's that's why there's always a fight between, like the light and the dark. But then once you attain a higher state of consciousness, you understand polarity now. There's just two sides of the same coin. Then you have a whole different approach. There's no fight when you understand this is okay. Tomatoes, tomatoes, dog. Like, are we gonna argue about tomatoes, tomatoes? You don't know what fucking tomatoes are? I mean, them are tomatoes, nigga. Same fucking difference. That's the type of wisdom that allow you to transcend. That's how now you're able to, let's just say, see beyond the veil, but most importantly, you're you're like everything. I just don't see how I can describe. I mean, I'm just giving you parts of it. But anyway, you have to understand your culture, because it's training you to think a certain way. And because you were raised in this country, there's a certain behavior that you're gonna have. Otherwise, well, what would have made you American? So you have to be aware of all these things for you to become the master of yourself, of you. You know what I'm saying? Now you have the environment now, but the master of you. That's why we transmute nationality. We go beyond all that shit. Not because we were rejecting it, only because we see the bigger picture. So meaning we're not rejecting. But anyway, and that's also we're gonna be talking about that too. But essentially, as a spiritual healer, that's what I do. That's what I help you to do. And now, if you're coming back, well, niggas, you already know. Uh, It's always a scene every time.